All right, so doing a lift session with me. So first thing I'm gonna do is some mobility. I've got kettlebells and I've got some body weight stuff. So for the kettlebells, doing clean and presses, doing an EMOM, so every minute on the minute. And then for my body weight stuff, working on some mobility through the shoulders, the hips, and then I'm working on my L-sit. So my L-sit, which isn't great, largely because of mobility, so that's something I'm really trying to improve. All right, so I have some shoulder issues. So my issues really have great shoulder mobility from a general perspective, but for my front rack, because I do have clean and jerks after this, which I'll be going to the gym for, I need to keep improving my external rotation, all right? But I need both, all right? So my internal and external rotation. So the internal rotation, I just need to keep balanced, to keep my shoulders just loose. And the looser they are, the more mobile they are, the less pain, the less stress I have across them. And the easier it is for me to sit in that racked position. All right, so I've got my peanut. So I've been using this to kind of work through my shoulder blade and get more into my rotator cuff. So upper trap also. So I've been hitting my upper trap. So infraspinatus, supraspinatus, infraspinatus, teres minor, teres major, getting all up in there. It's hard for me to tell exactly which muscles are the most tender and restrictive in my front rack, because when I get in with this peanut, I feel all sorts of good stuff. So again, I'm just surveying. So what I mean by surveying is I am going through this position overhead at 90 and moving around until I find a spot that feels real tender. And there's gonna be more than one, but I got one right there. You can just use a smaller ball or lacrosse ball. I use the peanut just because I'll end up getting in between my shoulder blades too, and it has a nice groove for your spine. All right, so when I find the position, when I find the tender spots, I'm going to hold that. I'm going to focus on my breathing, and I'm going to try and just relax and melt on that. And I'm going to work through internal and external rotation. So I don't have a timer going, but I typically do this for about a minute. And again, I just move around, find different positions. So you use whatever you need to and focus on whatever areas you need to for your movement prep. But this is my primary focus. Rotator cuff and shoulder mobility. So my left side, still same spots tender, but it's not nearly as bad as my right side, which used to be the opposite. But I've fortunately had a lot of good work done on my left shoulder. And on this side, it was a combination of mobility, but also getting more stability into this arm and shoulder. And of course, you fix one shoulder, then the other one becomes the problem. But overall, they're pretty good. All right, so I'm going to start with the my L-sit progression. So for today, what I'm focusing on more is in a V-sit. So a V-sit hold with some kind of pulses, leg raises. And I'm going to work on strengthening that kind of tucked position. All right. For the mobility portion, first I'm going to do this seated in what's called the long seated position, so legs straight out. So again, what I'm trying to emphasize here, so it's hamstring and low back. All right. So I'm trying to really get into my core. So this is, I can't overemphasize how deep into your core you need to draw in to get this to engage, all right, to get into this position and strengthen it. All right, and when I say this, I mean your deep core muscles. So your deep core muscles, we think about our six-pack, but obviously we have a group of abdominal muscles. We have your obliques, internal, external, and then you have your transverse abdominis. We have the pelvic floor. So we're trying to pull all of that in. All right, so I'm really focusing on curling in, almost as if I'm trying to do a sit-up, and I'm thinking one vertebrae at a time, just trying to round out. So I'm letting my back go into flexion or to round. And then as I do that, I'm squeezing my legs. I'm keeping my chin out to not put too much stress on my neck. And then what I'm going to do is reach out to the floor. I'm going to relax my knees on the inhale. And then as I exhale, I'm going to drive my knees down into the floor and reach deeper. All right, so I'm going to do that for about 10 breaths. Again, on the exhale, I'm really focusing on getting into my core, so I'm letting all that air out. So I'm feeling this through my calves, a little bit through the hamstrings, and I'm starting to get into that low back. I'm just going to get 2 more breaths. So I'm checking in my neck, trying to just keep things as relaxed as I can from the shoulders up. All right, so now I'm going to my V-sit position, so I'm using my hands for support, lifting up as high as I can, squeezing my legs, squeezing my toes and knees together, or toes and heels together, and I'm just going to pulse. Getting 15, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. All right, so now I'm going to balance this. I'm going to a seiza position. So a kneeling position, my toes are pointed for this. So I'm on the tops of my feet, and I'm going to walk my hands back. All right, so I'm working on stretching across the thighs, across the knee, across the hips, and getting into spinal extension, which I was just in more spinal flexion. I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm just going to breathe for 5. So I'm on my forearms. If you need to, you can just start up on the hands. All right, if you're up on the hands, I always encourage trying to turn the fingertips back to open up the shoulders and press the chest out. Think about full deep breaths from the belly, ribs, chest, shoulders, filling everything up and then exhaling. All right, then you can slowly begin to progress down and to some point being able to go flat. So I'm not quite there. I gotta lift up my knees. So I'm gonna hold this position where I keep the knees down. Got a nice stretch across the quads. I feel it especially lower thighs, kind of more above the kneecap. Again, trying to relax the neck as much as possible. Now I'm going to get one set. Let the knees lift, drop down a little deeper. And then just try and relax. All right, I'm going to work my way back up. I'm going to go into a bridge. Rotate those fingers back, get into the chest more now, open up those shoulders. And then come forward. And so I'm going to finish this. So with the L-sit position, there's a lot of work obviously through the shoulders, but especially through this rounded or again flexed position where my shoulder blades are actually working quite a bit with the muscle I just can't think about right now, but it actually attaches to the inside of your shoulder blade and goes into your ribs. All right, this is what causes scapular winging, if you ever heard that. So again, the ultimate goal is to be able to hold this position and then get into a tuck. right now what I'm going to work on is keep my toes down, and I'm working on these scapular push-ups. So strengthening this position, which is protraction and retraction of the shoulder blades, and really strengthening this retracted, rounded upper back position, being able to hold that, right? And the more mobility you have through your shoulder blades, the more mobility you're going to have through the whole upper arm and what we typically think of as the shoulder joint, right? But it all starts with the shoulder blades. So again, I'm going to keep my toes on the ground here, drawing everything up and in as if I was trying to lift my toes up. And then I'm just working on dropping and pushing. So I'm dropping my chest down, keeping the arms straight, and then I'm pushing away, really pulling into the belly, letting that upper back round out. I'm going to go for 10 of those. I'm going to break them up. So prioritizing form and feeling the right areas, the right muscles is highest priority. Right? It's worthless if you start to break down and you start working the wrong muscles, or you're working the right muscles in the wrong way. That's what leads to injury. So take your time, break it up however you need to. Fingers, I have my hands pointing out to take pressure off my wrist, but it's good to mix it up because you also want to build some more mobility through the wrist and holding that position as well. So I was out at about 90. I'm going to go to about 45. Chin out, try and relax the neck and face. And I was inhaling as I dropped, exhaling as I pushed. All right, so now next is kettlebells. So I'll adjust the camera. So again, this is kettlebell clean and press. This is for a 4-minute EMOM, so every minute on the minute. So I'll have 30 seconds to complete my clean and presses, and then I'll switch. Or then I'll rest for 30 seconds, and then repeat for 4 minutes. I'm going to switch between a 16 kilo and a 28 kilo. All right, so the 16 kilo is pretty easy for me. The 28 is challenging. All right, so I'm getting a little more volume and control with the 16 kilo, but I'm able to push my strength, kind of play on the edge there with the 28 kilo. All right, got my timer set. I'm starting with my left hand, I'm right hand dominant, and here we go. All right, so I went over a little bit there, snuck 5 in each side, bumping up on the next round. So I got about 15 seconds left to rest, aiming for about 3 reps on each arm for this. So the breathing right now, this is my recovery breathing, focusing on a long, more forceful exhale. Going back. All right, finish the last set with the 28 kilos. Aim for 3 and 3 again. There we go, lighten that up. All right, last set. There's my 4 minutes. So that completes the workout. I'm gonna do this for just one more set and then head to the gym, get my front squats, back squats, clean and jerks.